left channel, right channel, center.
VTuber 一問一答自己紹介
Yeah, and the tape's
それじゃあ
rolling.
行くよせーのお名前は
Katt Phloxworthy.
呼び方は
Just Cat is fine.
あなたは何系 VTuber?
Nerdy cat girl who features spaceflight.
誕生日は
May 4th.
年齢は
Older than pneumatic.
性別は
Transgender
身
female.
長は
4 foot 11.
出身は
Sacramento County.
チャームポイントは
Dialogue hair clip.
突然ですがモノマネどうぞ
Yeah, what's up, Dad?
活動場所は
Twitch, Twitter, YouTube.
はじめの挨拶
Thank you for joining me.
終わりの挨拶
Bye.
推しマークは
Not at present.
配信タグは
Catlight feed.
ファンアートは
Cat pics.
ファンネームは
Cat's apprentices.
好きな色は
Iris Indigo.
好きなことは
Vintage computers and
得
video.
意なことは
Technology.
ここで一言愛の告白好
I love you.
きな食べ物は
Ethnic foods.
好きな飲み物は
Craft soda.
好きな漫画は
Pizza 10.
好きなアニメは
Planet.
好きなゲームは
Left 4 Dead 2.
好きな音楽は
Classic rock.
苦手なことは
Human stupidity.
尊敬するのは
Space fairy people.
叶えたい夢は
ISS crew
最後にみん
interview.
なに一言どう
Thanks
ぞ
so much for your support and a final status check.
Go Atlas.
Go Centaur.
Go Katt Phlox.
You have permission to launch.
3, 2, 1. RD-180 ignition. Booster ignition and liftoff of Atlas V and Centaur. Hello, everybody, and thank you so much for joining me. Hi, Katt Phloxworthy here. We are about to try again, although this time with a much higher degree of, much better degree of probability that it'll actually go off like it's supposed to. Basically, what happened was the last couple of times there were technical issues with the Atlas V booster. Well, actually, I don't know if it was the Atlas V booster or the Centaur sustainer. Both of them have liquid oxygen as their oxidizers, as part of their bipropellants. But the thing is, though, we don't know what I don't know which one it is, but it sounds like it's Atlas V itself that was having some problems. And on top of that, they were having weather issues on the second try. This time, though, everything seems to be working well. The only thing I thought they were. Ooh, I just looked at. I looked at something they were saying that there was a. One of the things I also was not to go too far off this subject. Apparently, New Glenn just took off either yesterday or today, and apparently everything went very well. But I'll have to probably give it a. I'll have to take a look at it and perhaps cover it tomorrow. Tomorrow evening, and then we'll see it from there. Thank you so much for thanks for that over on YouTube. Haran Zero, thank you. Thanks for coming on in. We're gonna go take a look at that at some point. We're gonna do that tomorrow. But right now, we are heading out to the Cape Canaveral Space Force Station, where the Atlas V is currently on the pad with the ViaSat-3 Flight 2 mission, which is headed for geostationary transfer orbit, and that starts at about. The coverage should be coming up very shortly. The actual launch itself will probably will happen just shortly after 7 p.m. local time here in California. Shortly after 10 p.m. on the East Coast, particularly Florida, and it'll be about 3 in the right around 3 in the morning over in UTC land, if you will. Although now I think things are back to GMT as opposed to BST. Well, that's another thing. GMT is actually more a time zone where UTC is a reference. UTC never changes. GMT switches back and forth between basically between regular time like it does here in the United States, although they start theirs a little bit later and then ends it a little bit sooner. Whereas we started our originally back in before 2007, the Greenwich Mean Time. Let me try that again. Basically, normal time started the first Sunday in April, all the way to the last Sunday of October. Now it's the second Sunday of March, all the way to the first Sunday of November. So anyway, we are waiting on. Things should be starting up before too long, and we'll be joining them real soon. Hello there. I hope everything's going on well on your side. So anyway, we're about to catch we're going to be catching the coverage on their side before too long. It should be starting anytime now. So right around 4 o'clock my time, they were actually starting the cryogenics propellant loading. So basically, they can. I believe they may have actually done the fuel side of it, which of course is RP1, a highly refined form of kerosene. They probably started that early in the day, and then of course much more recently they started tanking operations on liquid hydrogen and oxygen, hydrogen on the Centaur stage, and liquid oxygen on both stages. And of course, they have 5 solid rocket motors, sometimes called GEM, graphite epoxy motors. They're made by Northrop Grumman. And let's see, hang on a sec. Let me take a look, see if they're ready. Yep, they're getting ready to start. We will be joining them momentarily. So. And this is in the 551 configuration. Yes, indeed. There we go. Let's go ahead and join them. In progress.
And liftoff of the United Launch Alliance.
This is the 551 configuration. 5-meter fairing, which encapsulates both the payload and the upper part of the Centaur stage. There are 5 solid rocket motors and 1.
Good evening, and welcome.
And then, of course, the one liquid-fueled engine on the Centaur, the RL-10.
I'm Ashkan Mohammadi, and I'm an analysis engineer at United Launch Alliance.
I'm Abby Katwar, a ULA Contamination Control Engineer. We're joining you from ULA Advanced Spaceflight Operations Center here at Cape Canaveral.
They're about to
Space
hit
Force Station
L-minus
in Florida.
19 minutes and
We
counting
also have team
momentarily.
members on console at ULA headquarters in Denver, Colorado. Liftoff is scheduled for 10:04 p.m. Eastern at the opening of tonight's 44-minute launch window.
L-minus 19 minutes and counting.
And are determined by the payload's final destination.
It's about 45 minutes, I believe, this time around.
To a geosynchronous transfer orbit, otherwise known as GTO. We'll be covering the mission through the end of the second burn of the Centaur upper stage, which occurs roughly 27 minutes after liftoff.
For additional real-time mission coverage, follow along with our live blog at ulalaunch.com. And if you enjoy watching our broadcast, don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel for access to future missions, launch highlights, and behind-the-scenes rocket content.
At this time, the team is not working any issues, and we're proceeding towards a 10:04 p.m. liftoff.
Everything that sounds good thus far.
As we continue counting down towards liftoff,
Especially
let's
after
hear
all the
directly from
technical
ViaSat
issues
about
that they
this
had
mission
with
and what this
the liquid
high-capacity,
oxygen
highly
side of
flexible
things.
Communication satellite is anticipated to mean for its commercial, consumer, and defense customers on land, at sea, and in the air.
Today, we launch ViaSat-3 Flight 2, a powerful addition to our global multi-band, multi-orbit satellite network, and the next step in delivering connectivity where it's needed most.
We're in lovely Cape Canaveral, Florida, getting ready to launch ViaSat-3 F2. This launch has been a long time coming.
Satellite launches are always an exciting and inspirational time. But this one's even more meaningful than most.
Flight 2 is designed to not only more than double the total capacity of our entire current network, but also do so with extreme flexibility.
Historically, we really had a choice between coverage or capacity. With ViaSat-3, you don't really have to choose.
Its capabilities are certainly considerable. ViaSat-3 really represents a pretty unique way of thinking about satellite communications. One of the things we were really emphasizing, besides just the enormous amount of throughput, was flexibility.
The power of ViaSat-3 is driven by innovations in ground systems and payload design.
Everything was designed, engineered to work together as a seamless system. In fact, most of the complexity in the system is on the ground, not in space. And that allows us to devote more of the size, weight, and power to satellite-specific items that can help us increase the overall system performance.
When we designed ViaSat-3, we were really looking for something that would create unique differentiators for us in all of our business areas.
This work and innovation is rooted in our mission to bring more to our customers around the world.
Airlines are generating demand everywhere in the world. These ViaSat-3 satellites that allow you to match the demand in any one spot. No matter what the platform is, we've got our Amara product in commercial aviation. We've got JetXP in business aviation.
It's a really important upgrade opportunity and transition path to bring even greater capacity, building on the managed, highly reliable service that Nexus Wave presents.
All of these requirements are why we built ViaSat-3 the way we did. For government, that's increasing the resiliency and the reliability for our users.
Today's launch and the ViaSat-3 technology on board pave the way for our upcoming launches, for the future of Viasat satellite technology, and for our mission to deliver more.
Just as important to Viasat is the ability to scale the basic Viasat-3 technology, as well as the improvements we're already making to it for the next generation of satellites, both at GEO and at LEO and all orbits in between.
Thanks to all our partners that have made it possible. Thanks again to all the employees everywhere around the world that have put in just the incredible dedication to get us here.
Coming up on launch, L minus 15 minutes and counting. There's the vehicle standing on the pad.
Recently updated commercial launch requirements, limiting launches to occur only from
minus
around
15
10
minutes
PM to
and
6
counting.
AM. But the teams at both Viasat and ULA have been hard at work accommodating these changes and getting us ready for launch today. Trajectory engineers and mission design teams being in lockstep, updating parameters to accommodate these changes.
The Viasat team went through the analysis and margins for the spacecraft and were able to implement an adjustment to the separation window that didn't impact any performance during their orbit raising maneuver from GTO to GEO. GTO, or geosynchronous transfer orbit, is an elliptical orbit around the Earth that allows you to eventually get to GEO. It's worth noting that our Atlas rocket is also able of doing direct injection to GEO. But thanks to the skilled engineers across both teams and the flexible capacity of the Atlas V rocket, we were able to rapidly adjust and return for a launch attempt today.
Yeah, big shout out to the teams for helping us get to the pad today.
And
right now
so
we're
yeah,
taking a live look at the Atlas V rocket on the launch pad. As the countdown continues, our team is taking the final steps in preparation for liftoff. The first stage, also known as the rocket's booster stage, is that bottom half of the vehicle made up of two large propellant tanks. The bottom one filled with RP-1 and the top with liquid oxygen. Liquid oxygen is a super cold cryogenic propellant. It's so cold that it forms a thin layer of ice that gives the tank its frosty white appearance.
Atlas is also equipped with the Centaur upper stage, which drives the payload during the second phase of flight to its final orbital destination in space. The payload fairing, or PLF, completes the rocket and provides the aerodynamic shape necessary for the climb to space. On the upper stage in PLF, we see logos for Viasat, Atlas, ULA, as well as the American flag. Many of you know that during our last attempt, we had valve issues that caused us to have to scrub. More specifically, the issue was in the booster's liquid oxygen vent valve.
Yeah, that vent valve's precisely designed such that once the pressure in the tanks reach a certain value, it'll push the valve open with a relief system and allow that gas to vent overboard, making those nice fluffy clouds that you see coming off the booster.
These problems typically happen on valves that are exposed to the exterior of the rocket when they're introduced to things like weather, contamination, or other external influences that can cause issues that are really hard to fix without that manual inspection and intervention, which is why we had to roll back to the VIF.
But the fun thing about valves is we interact with them every day. You know, the running water in your house actually operates similar to a rocket. Those pipes store water at really high pressure, around 50 psi on average, and every time you turn on your sink, you're actually manually actuating a valve, similar to a pressure-fed propulsion system. So you should remember that next time you go to wash your hands.
That's one of the things that they were talking about with
After liftoff,
with
ULA's Atlas V rocket will fly southeast from Space Launch Complex 41. Here's a look at today's flight.
Oh yeah, let's have a look at the flight profile.
Following final confirmation of rocket readiness, the RD-180 engine and 5 GEM-63 solid rocket boosters ignite to produce more than 2 million pounds of thrust, lifting ULA's Atlas V rocket away from the pad. Shortly after liftoff, the rocket begins a pitch over to attain the proper flight path while minimizing the dynamic pressure it experiences during flight. Atlas then reaches Mach 1, the speed of sound. The addition of 5 solid rocket boosters, or SRBs, precisely augment the liftoff thrust of the Atlas V, giving it the power to deliver the payload to orbit. With their propellant expired approximately 96 seconds into ascent, the SRBs burn out, followed by jettison. Atlas's guidance system then begins steering towards the precise target in space. The ViaSat-3 F2 satellite is encapsulated inside a 5-meter diameter payload fairing, which provides protection to the satellite during ascent.
L-minus 11 minutes and counting.
Entering space, the payload fairing is jettisoned. With the majority of propellant expended fighting against the force of gravity, the RD-180 engine shuts down and the booster stage separates. The rocket then begins second stage flight, weighing less than 7% of what it did at liftoff. With the first burn complete, the Centaur engine shuts down for a coast phase. ULA's high-performance Centaur then performs 2 additional firings of its RL-10 engine. Together, the 3 burns increase the transfer orbit altitude and reduce the orbital inclination relative to the equator. During the third and final burn, Centaur expends all of its cryogenic propellant, minimizing the time to final orbit for ViaSat-3 F2. Following the final shutdown of its main engine, Centaur releases the ViaSat-3 F2 satellite into geosynchronous transfer orbit, or GTO, to expand and enhance in-flight connectivity for aviation passengers, exceed performance, security, and resiliency for governments, enhance internet experience on board vessels, and help deliver fast, reliable internet to rural communities.
This is Atlas Mission Control at L-minus 9 minutes and 31 seconds. On your screen now, you're looking at the flight configuration key for today's mission, AV551. AV stands for Atlas V. The first 5 stands for our payload fairing size, which is a 5-meter payload fairing. The middle 5 is for the number of solid rocket boosters, which is fully loaded today at 5. And the singular 1 on the end is for our Centaur engine. Now that we've seen the flight plan and learned about the configuration, viewers watching from Florida and parts of the Southeast may be able to see our Atlas rocket in flight. To get a closer look at this visibility map, check out @ULA Launch on social media.
Yeah, that would be an interesting thing to watch. Like I said, we were to have moved in. We were looking at moving to Cape Canaveral potentially, but we ultimately ended up coming on this side of the country in California.
Weather Officer Brian Cizek.
Today's forecast for launch is looking good. The probability of violating launch is less than 5%. The ground winds are 5
Those
to
are
9
good
knots
numbers.
out of the north direction, and the temperature is 62 to 64 degrees Fahrenheit. There are no concerns for launch, and the weather is looking beautiful.
So right now, they are coming up L-minus 8 minutes and counting. They should be coming up on the final go-no-go poll, where they check with all, where the launch director checks with everybody to see if all systems and personnel, as well as, of course, the range and the vehicle and its payload are all good to go.
We remain
But we
in
should
the
be hearing that.
30-minute hold as we continue towards liftoff. In a few moments, ULA launch conductor Ed Kitta will pull the team for the final go to pick up the countdown. The launch conductor manages the launch team during the countdown, ensuring that all systems are performing nominally and that every member of the team is following their procedure and executing per the planned timeline.
28 engineers are pulled to confirm the rocket is ready to proceed. This is the final status check for all Atlas vehicle systems.
So
ground
T-minus
systems,
8
the
minutes,
payload, and the United
4
States
minutes rather,
Space Force Eastern
which
Wing.
is,
Let's listen in as he performs the poll.
here goes the go poll, starting now.
L minus 7 minutes. Status check to proceed with terminal count. Atlas systems. Propulsion. Go. Hydraulics. Go. Pneumatics. Go. LO2. Go. Water. Go. Centaur systems. Propulsion. Go. Pneumatics. Go. LO2.
Go.
LH2.
Go.
Gas.
Go.
Electrical systems. Airborne. Go. Ground. Go. Facility. Go. RFFTS. Go. Flight control. Go. GCQ. Go. Op support.
Go.
Com. Go. Umbilicals.
Go.
Environmental control systems.
Go.
Redline monitor. Go. Quality.
Go.
Op safety manager. Go. ULA safety officer.
Go.
Vehicle system engineer.
Go.
Anomaly chief.
Go.
Range and weather.
Go.
Launch director.
You have permission to launch.
Proceeding with the count.
Polling is complete, and the team is go for launch. From now until liftoff, launch conductor Ed Kidda and the launch team will continue reporting the final steps in today's countdown.
This includes verifying propellant levels and pressures in the booster and Centaur fuel tanks.
So L minus is the launch minus, which runs pretty much the entire time, while T minus is the actual countdown starts. And at when L minus 4 minutes hits, they'll pick up the T minus countdown right at the same time.
You'll hear Go Atlas, Go Centaur, Go ViaSat. This is the final status check for the rocket and payload.
To dampen the acoustic shock at liftoff, at T-minus 6 seconds, the launch pad's water deluge system activates, followed a few seconds later by boost Centaur ignition. Then, after seeing Atlas liftoff, you'll hear flight commentator Daniel Brunson providing updates as the rocket ascends into
just
space.
inside L minus 5 minutes, coming up on T minus 4
Is
minutes.
space weather. This weather is driven by
It's
our
actually
friendly
T minus 4 minutes and
reactor,
holding.
also known as the sun. Every 11 years, the sun's magnetic poles swap, which leads to a very active period of stormy weather, which is the period we are in right now. The charged particles from the sun interact with the oxygen in the atmosphere to create the green and red hues in the night sky, while the nitrogen turns to shades of blue and purple. Together, this creates those beautiful visuals we call the northern lights that some of you may have noticed a bit farther south the past few days.
The Aurora Borealis in the northern hemisphere and the Aurora Australis in the southern hemisphere.
To a measure of brightness. You can think of a dim light versus a
We're
bright
about
one.
to pick up the count.
It's an important metric since it helps us understand the risk that those protons have of causing damage to our sensitive components. And a fun fact, Parker's solar probe that we launched on a Delta IV Heavy back in 2020 has been collecting data extremely
T-minus
close
4
to the
minutes
sun
and counting.
to help us. This is Atlas Mission Control at T-minus 4 minutes and holding. We anticipate releasing the hold in just a few moments.
Actually, it looks like they're pushing it a little bit
The
back.
countdown clock has resumed, and we are go for launch.
Oh, they already have resumed, they said.
04 p.m. Eastern. While the countdown continues, let's learn more about how ULA builds the Atlas V rocket.
Engineered in Centennial, Colorado, ULA's Atlas V rocket is built in Decatur, Alabama, and launched from Cape Canaveral, Florida. Once the rocket is manufactured, it travels to Cape Canaveral on ULA's cargo ship, known as Rocket Ship. After arriving
I like
in Florida,
that.
ULA's launch operations team begins assembling the rocket.
There's the RD-180 at the back with two, those, even though it's got two nozzles on there, it's actually one engine.
Powered by an RD-180 engine onto the mobile launch platform. 5 solid rocket boosters are attached to the sides of the first stage for additional thrust at liftoff. ULA's ultra-thin stainless steel Centaur upper stage, powered by an RL-10 engine, is then lifted into position. Lastly, the payload fairing, containing the spacecraft, is lifted and mated to the Atlas V rocket. Once assembled, the countdown begins with moving the rocket from the vertical integration facility to the launch pad. The trip to the pad is about 1/3 of a mile. Throughout the 20-minute trip, a payload van leads the move, providing communication with the spacecraft, followed by the ground van providing support to the rocket. The mobile launch platform supplies air conditioning, electrical, and propellant lines to the rocket.
And hey, Daniel, thank you for coming on in.
Power the convoy, which includes an environmental control system providing air conditioning to the
Hope everything going well, or everything's going well on your side.
Atlas arrives at the pad for fueling and other final preparations.
And also notice that white thing right near the top of that structure. That is for crewed launches, most notably for CST-100 Starliner.
137. FTS armed.
T-minus 90 seconds.
T-minus 90
Launch
seconds,
vehicle, ground
and they're
systems,
called.
payload and Eastern Range are go for launch.
They just call flight termination system is armed, ready in case of a problem.
Launch of ViaSat-3 Flight 2.
At this
FTS
time,
being
the team
flight
is not
termination
working
system.
any issues, and we are proceeding towards liftoff at 10:04 p.m. Eastern.
Send valves locked.
They're about to call range status at L-1 minute.
T-minus
L-1 minute.
Rock, report range status.
Range green.
Everything's cleared down range. Coming up on the final report of the final system status at L-25 seconds.
Stable at step 3.
L-30 seconds and counting.
28. Verify ECS reduced for launch.
Final status at L-25 seconds.
Status check.
Go Atlas.
Go Centaur. Go ViaSat.
Everything is ready to launch.
T-minus 10.
10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. RD-180 ignition. And booster ignition and liftoff of Atlas 5 and Centaur carrying ViaSat-2, 3 Flight 2 headed to geostationary transfer orbit, improving communication, improving internet access for both maritime and airborne flight, and the vehicle has cleared the tower.
And we complete our roll program. Body rates turn to 0.
They're now, they should be hitting, well, we have inbound. Hey, Vega, how you doing? Thank you for coming on in. We are watching the ULA launch of Atlas 5 and Centaur carrying a communication satellite to orbit. They just passed max Q, the maximum aerodynamic pressure that will press down on the vehicle as it goes through the lower atmosphere. They should be hitting Mach 1 before too long, if they haven't already.
Body rates continue to look nominal. Hydraulics looking good.
We're coming up on burnout and separation of the 5 SRBs on the sides of Atlas 5.
Vehicles beginning to throttle down in preparation for SRB burnout. At this point in flight, vehicle is now half of its original liftoff weight.
About 6 seconds until booster burnout and separation. Standing by. Everything, all the boosters have burned out. Now they're about ready to jettison and reduce the vehicle weight. There go all the SRBs.
28 miles in altitude. And good indication of SRB jettison on all 5 SRBs. Body rates continue to look healthy. And your parameters looking good.
We just heard confirmation of solid rocket booster jettison. These additional motors augmented the thrust at liftoff to give the Atlas 5 rocket an extra boost to reach geosynchronous transfer orbit.
We're coming up on our next mission event, jettison of the payload fairing. Let's listen in.
Passing 57 miles downrange, traveling at 5,000.
They have to do this first in order to separate Atlas and Centaur and ignite the RL-10 on the Centaur stage. And that usually happens at about L plus 4.5 minutes into flight. They've already passed the Kármán line, which is at the 100-kilometer mark, at which point they jettison the fairing.
Booster's going to begin throttling down. Maintain 2.5 G's acceleration in preparation for PLF jettison.
They're about to... Oh, I see. They haven't done the payload fairing jettison just yet?
6,600 miles per hour. And we've got activation of the second stage RCS system. Hydrazine coming up to flight pressures.
Hopefully we'll get some visuals of the RL-10 igniting shortly after staging. Favorite part is always watching the... There go the fairing. There go the fairing halves.
Just called out confirmation of payload fairing jettison. The payload fairing.
We got some visual of that. That is too cool.
The industry as the pointy end of the rocket serves to protect the spacecraft from those harsh acoustics and aerodynamic forces as it's ascending.
That's probably taking a cue from Tim Dodd. And the flamey end, of course, is at the other end, at the RL-80 end at this point.
Cutoff of the Atlas first stage engine and separation of the booster stage, followed by ignition of ULA Centaur second stage.
We're about to hit L plus 4 minutes. L plus 4 minutes.
Kill down of the upper stage engines.
They're in the process of doing thermal conditioning of the RL-10 ahead of ignition. Should be getting BECO or booster engine cutoff shortly, at which point they will separate the two. They will separate the Atlas portion of the vehicle. And they're also should be getting BECO anytime. They call BECO. There's the interior. Now you see the RL-10 engine. Now we're going pre-start of the RL-10 engine. And we have ignition of the RL-10. And there it goes. There goes the Atlas behind it.
4 minutes and 52 seconds. We just heard flight commentator Daniel Brunson confirm the successful completion of the early milestones in today's flight, and all systems continue to operate nominally.
We have about 6.5 minutes until we reach our next mission event, shutdown of Centaur's main engine. We'll return with mission commentary as we get closer to that next milestone.
What I believe happens, what they were basically saying earlier about going first to GTO, geostationary transfer orbit, and then geostationary Earth orbit. What happens is that they first go into an elliptical orbit.
This first plan burned. RCS thermal conditioning firings continue. Hydrazine line temps are beginning to approach bottle temps.
They got everything to the point where they can actually use the RCS reaction control system thrusters.
Vehicle's approaching 700 miles downrange, 28 miles in altitude.
And there are some thruster fires going on right now. And what happens is that geostationary transfer orbit is the
closed loop as expected.
That is basically the going into the initial elliptical orbit when it first gets to about 25,000 miles, or excuse me, 60 closer to 17,000. My apologies, and it's like right around 27,000 kilometers. And what they'll do is once they reach the highest point of the orbit, there's the RL-10, and I never saw the RL-10 actually take on that glow at all. This is the first time I've seen this happen on a live stream.
And we've switched over
where they actually have the engine.
Format. Signal strength continues to look nominal.
And once they get to the apogee, wrong end. Apogee, which is the highest point in the orbit, they'll fire the RL-10 again, and what that'll do is that will put it into a circularized orbit.
30 miles downrange, continuing right down the center of the range track.
And the perigee is the lowest point of the orbit. Right now, it's a negative number, which means it would actually crash into the planet. Once it goes into a positive number, it'll be actually in orbit.
Engine parameters continue to look healthy. Body rate's looking nominal. PUs come off the lock stop, seeing engine parameters fluctuate accordingly as expected.
We're just about 4 minutes into, 8 minutes, my
And
apologies.
hydrogen line temps have converged with bottle temps. Three minutes remain in this first burn.
So what'll happen first is that they are in the process of getting ready to fire. Once that number where it says perigee goes into positive numbers, that means it'll be in orbit, and the perigee will be the lowest point in the of the orbit.
Downrange, 145 miles in altitude. Engine parameters continue to look healthy.
And right around the time they did staging, it was less than a tenth of its original weight at launch, because the Atlas stage as well as the 5 GEM 63s are mainly used to beat the force of gravity, and of course Centaur is what causes it to go even faster downrange, so that it doesn't fall back down so it doesn't actually fall down. Right now, the idea is to get it to fall pretty much continuously around the planet, of course, which is of course one of the fundamentals of orbital mechanics.
Vehicle body rates continue to look nominal. RCS thruster
We're
firing.
at T plus 10 minutes. And we're about ready to have a positive perigee.
Passing 18.
As long as it's, I think when the perigee starts to hit a little bit closer to say 75 to close to 100 kilometers, that is when it'll actually be more in orbit. And they should be doing SECO 1 before too long. They're about to pop into positive territory on the perigee. Basically, it won't be hitting the planet. They're coming very close to MECO 1 before too long. Excuse me, not SECO.
This is Atlas Mission Control at
And
L
we have
plus 11
IFU
minutes and 10 seconds.
Here we go. We're now in
on the end
positive
of the
territory
first of
on the
3 Centaur
perigee.
upper stage engine burns. Let's listen in.
Now it should be in orbit now.
And MECO 1, good shutdown.
They just called MECO 1.
Shuttling has gone to
The
4S.
simulation is now showing MECO 1.
Vehicle's begun turning to our second burn attitude. All of the parameters look healthy. This will be
Indeed. Let's go to orbit.
for our second burn.
We're now in orbit and now in a
Just heard
coast
confirmation
phase.
of the successful first burn. Our next event is the second of 3 main engine starts at L plus 21 minutes and 35 seconds. We'll return with mission commentary as we approach that next milestone.
During our breaking commentary, we'll continue to stream live STK from the rocket. STK, or Satellite Toolkit, is the graphic on your screen showing where the satellite is in its mission to get to its final destination.
Yeah, and the cool thing about the STK is it's using live.
And they're doing thruster firings just to keep everything stable. And they'll sometimes use these thruster firings just to get everything into the right attitude ahead of either jettison or, in this particular case, getting ready for the next engine firing. And that'll happen probably in the next 20 minutes, I believe. And what they were saying earlier about the conditioning firings, that's basically to make sure that all the prop lines going to the RCS thrusters are up to operating temperature. That way, there's no thermal shock when the engines are fired. And they'll probably every now and again change the attitude so that they can.
First planned coast.
So 8 minutes, at which point they'll do another engine firing. That may take several minutes. We'll see how what they'll do. And the RL-10 is an interesting engine. It uses a cycle called the expander, the gas expander cycle. The most engines like the Merlin 1D uses what is called a gas generator cycle. What they do is they burn some of the propellant, RP1 and liquid oxygen. They burn it really, really rich so that they can keep the turbopump cool. Any closer to the stoichiometric ratio where
range, upper stage parameters continue to look healthy. Helium storage bottle pressure, battery bus voltage, tank pressures, all looking nominal.
basically they burn the engine very fuel rich, so then they can keep the turbopump cooled, and in the case of the and then of course they send the mechanical motion from the turbopump into the pumps themselves to draw RP1 and liquid oxygen from the tanks and feed it into the engine's combustion chamber and out the nozzle in the form of thrust. In the case of the RL-10, what it does, instead of actually burning any kind of propellant, liquid hydrogen is, of course, a liquefied gas, and in order to get it into its most optimum form for combustion, they actually make it evaporate, and as it's evaporating, that energy for the phase change from liquid to gas is used to power the turbopump, and thus bringing oxidizer and fuel from the tanks into the RL-10's combustion chamber. The idea behind that is you can derive an enormous amount of efficiency from that. The RL-10 is probably one of the most efficient hydrolox engines out there. And the RL-180 is a little different from, say, the Merlin 1D, because what they do is they use in the case of the Merlin 1D, they use what is called for about less than 5 minutes until the restart of the engine. Yeah, I got a little distracted. Sorry. Anyway, I remember what I was going to say. The RD-180 uses what I was saying originally about the Merlin 1D. It uses an open gas generator cycle. Basically, they burn the propellant and then send the exhaust overboard in the case of the first stage engine. The second stage engine, the MVAC engine, the Merlin optimized vacuum optimized engine, they take the exhaust, send it through a manifold, and use it for cooling. It's used as cooling, what is called film cooling, between the flame that is from the burning propellants and the interior of the nozzle. In the case of the RD-180, it uses what is called a staged combustion closed cycle engine, oxygen rich, which basically means they send all the oxygen through the engine, through the turbopump, and a little bit of the RP1 to make everything work, and the remainder of the remainder of the oxygen, which doesn't get combusted, is used to cool the turbopump, and then the rest of it goes, along with the rest of the fuel, goes into the combustion chamber for combustion, and sent out through the back in the form of thrust. They're coming about 3 minutes away from the first restart. We have another inbound. ENVTuber, thank you so much for coming on in, and thanks for bringing your thanks for the raid.
Stable. Minimal RCS firings. Battery bus voltage, helium bottle pressure, all looking nominal.
And there you go. Here's Katt tested, Phloxworthy approved. Shout out. Yes, I've had this model since last February. And I really, really, really love what they did for me. And on top of that, the rigger was one I've been wanting to use for a long time, and she did such an awesome job. So they should be restarting the engine in an event called 2 minutes until MES2. Main engine start 2. Almost looks like an aerosol can with spare parts. Yeah, in a manner of speaking, it is. And in some cases, it actually is. When they do, if they use something like release of gas, that is, in fact, what it essentially is. Is this a simulation or actually? This is a simulation, but it is basically
to LH2 tank pressure.
They're in the process of pressurizing the hydrogen tanks in advance of MES2, and it basically is based directly on the telemetry from the vehicle itself, so we can actually see what's going on without actually seeing the vehicle itself, because they may not have it. We're coming about a minute or so away from MES2. And Apogee is at about 495 kilometers. We'll probably see that go up by quite a bit. There's a total of 3 burns. I think we're only going to see up to the end of the second burn. And usually what they'll do, they're at the pre-start for the RL-10. They should be coming on, they're talking MES2 coming momentarily, about 10 seconds. LO2 is being, liquid oxygen is being pressurized.
Ignition and full thrust.
They just called MES2 start. MES2 ignition.
Steering enabled.
And
body rates responding accordingly.
Let's see how long this.
5-minute burn.
About 5 minutes. Probably to circularize the orbit, or at least to change the inclination of the orbit. The inclination is the angle of the orbit, the orbital track in relation to the Earth's equator. When it normally launches, they said it goes to a southwestern. In this case, I think it was to a southwestern track. And what they need to do is they need to make it such that it's much more parallel with the equator. that has the effect of increasing the altitude. The actual altitude increase will actually happen on the third burn. Like they said, that's when they expend the remainder of the propellant.
Vehicles passing 5,300 miles downrange, 100 miles in altitude, traveling at near 19,000 miles per hour. Engine parameters responding
Excuse me.
Hydrogen correction from PU, all responding nominally. Just under 4 minutes left in this burn.
All right, time to enjoy the mission viewing. All righty. Have fun enjoying the mission viewing. And if you got to do any kind of self-care related stuff, by all means, go ahead and do so. And thank you so much for bringing your community to mine, and enjoy the rest of your evening. It sounds like what they're doing is circularizing the orbit, as well as, of course, like I said, doing a basically adjusting the inclination of the orbit, such that it's more in line with the equator. Because a lot of these geostationary satellites need to be running in parallel with the or directly over the equator for optimum usage. And of course, at 3 minutes until MECO 2. And by the time they get up to the 25,000 miles in altitude, that will actually make it a full orbit will be pretty much one full day. And those are little thruster firings to keep the flight straight.
Two minutes to plan MECO.
At which point they will coast for a while. Probably right around the opposite side of the planet, at which point they will... Actually, it's half an hour already.
Passing 6,000 miles downrange. All parameters continue to look nominal.
So in about 45 minutes, it'll be halfway across the world. Minute and a half to go until MECO 2. I don't know if they're going to do it on the opposite side of the planet, because like I said, but then again, like I said, they are in the process of adjusting the inclination of the orbit such that its inclination's right around 0 degrees.
1 minute to MECO.
Normally, when they launch to the International Space Station, that inclination is 51.6 degrees against the equator. In this case, it's a very shallow. Once it's done, it'll be right around 0 degrees, such that it goes directly over the equator. Coming up on MECO in about a minute or so.
Thirty seconds to MECO.
Just under half a minute.
Use return to open loop. And good shutdown. MECO 2.
They just called MECO 2, and we have MECO 2.
Shuttling has resumed 100% as expected. Body rates responding accordingly. Vehicles beginning to turn to MES 3 attitude.
MES 3 being, of course, the main engine start 3, at which they will launch it. They will reignite the engine a third time, burn just about all of its propellant, put it into GTO, or geostationary transfer orbit. And once it's deployed, the vehicle's own thrusters will then put it into the appropriate orbit. Okay, let's go ahead and head over to chat screening. So in the meantime, the vehicle is now headed off into where it gets deposited by Centaur, at which point it'll be in that elliptical orbit. At which point the engines aboard the ViaSat-3 vehicle will then fire and then actually adjust the orbit such that it becomes circular. And at which point it can then be placed into the appropriate location in space, where they can then be used as for internet access, for aircraft communications, maritime internet access, as well as other purposes, and including rural internet, which they mentioned as well. The main thing is, though, is this is geostationary orbit, which means there's this little thing called c, also known as the speed of light. That will be an issue for those people who need any kind of timing sensitive stuff like gaming. It won't work that well. That's why you have stuff like Starlink, which has a mean altitude of about I believe 500 kilometers in orbit above the planet. And OneWeb, I believe, operates a little bit higher than that, like 700 or 800 kilometers. And they use a lot fewer satellites in the constellation. Originally, they were being launched by Soyuz out of French Guiana, but unfortunately, given the situation that's going on in Ukraine right now, in fact, I remember seeing some of the coverage that happened after back in early February of 22, back in late February of 22, rather. During the early stages of the conflict, basically a lot of the technicians were starting to be, well, I'm not gonna say a whole lot about that. But anyway, I think tomorrow I'm gonna go ahead and cover the new Glen as a replay. So anyway, let me go take a look and see who we might say hi to over on Twitch. But in any event, I'd like to thank everybody for coming on in, and been a while since I've done a lot of any kind of serious amount of. I used to do a lot more showing of space flight, and I don't need to. I'd love to do more of it, but for one, Starlink stuff is so routine, and there's no real point in doing it. And the other stuff, I don't. Many of you people, some of you people should understand why I really don't want to do that. But let's just put it this way: separating the person from the machine, if you get my point. Let's see who is. I'm gonna take a look at something real quick here. I haven't. Okay, I think I know who I might destroy. I don't know if I don't know when the last time I've rated her is. We're gonna go ahead and view. We're gonna go. The channel name is Clover-chan. Her name is Clover Shikamori, and her friend. her close, and another a friend of hers, Tila Chikafuji, who is also streaming with her. They usually stream on the same channel at the same time. So let's go ahead and, but sometimes she'll stream on her own. Let me go ahead and, first of all, get the usual things that I usually do at the end of the show. Let me give you some raid text for those people who don't have subs. And for those who do, here's some text there. And again, thank you so much for coming on in. And let me go ahead and start the raid. She's playing. They're playing Stranova, which I need to actually try one of these days. Let me try that again. There we go. Okay, so let's go ahead and start that. All right, let me go ahead and head on back in here. And thank you everybody for coming on in, and I hope you guys had a great hope you guys enjoyed the show. And as always, I'd like to say in basically in relation to what's been happening since February 22, Slava Ukraini, and until next time, I hope you had a great time, and hopefully I'll catch you guys tomorrow to show you what happened with New Glenn. And in the meantime, until then, I hope you have a great evening, and I will see you then, hopefully. Bye.